Welcome back. Thank you for checking out the channel. My name's Maya and my channel is all about health, wellness, fitness and a bit of beauty. So today I was going to give you a quick update about how my 75 hard challenge is going. So I'm doing a bit of meal prep, so I thought I'd have you with me, cooking with me, while I talk to you about how the challenge has gone so far and how we're going to be going with the challenge going forward. Today, what we've got on the menu is beef skirt casserole, which is actually such a nice cut of beef, and it tends to be quite a bit cheaper than a lot of beef as well. I prefer the taste of a ribeye steak because it's got that fat marbled through it, and it's quite similar with this cut of beef. So it's not just like normal casserole steak. It is a little bit more fatty and a little bit more delicious. Really simple recipe, and I've got, how many grams is this? I would say this is about 800 grams. So I've got 800 grams of it, and that's gonna last me probably, I'd say 3 meals. So I'm just gonna do a bit of a batch cook now and then just have it throughout the week. So I'm just literally gonna dice the beef and I'm gonna cut up some veg and I'm gonna make a stock. And while I'm doing all that, I will just talk you through how the challenge has been going so far. To make up my stock, I'm just gonna be using celery, carrots, and obviously onions and garlic and a bit of salt and pepper, and I'm going to go in with some bone broth as well, which is going to give the stock some volume, but it's also going to give me that extra hit of nutrient. Bone broth is extremely high nutrient value. So far I've actually really been enjoying the challenge. It's already 24 days in, and I'll be honest, it's really just not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. You know, as soon as you say that, oh, I'm not having this and I'm not having that, you sort of like, it becomes like the longest week ever. And actually, this has been absolutely fine. I think obviously the situation with the lockdown is making it a lot easier to stick to. Really enjoying the benefits that it's having on my body and my mindset and just like my productivity overall. So, yep, 100% sold so far. I would say the biggest challenge for me has been not being able to have a cheat meal. And even though obviously I'm not going out to restaurants and things, our onion eyes around, Saturday night rolls around, sort of like sitting in front of the telly, doing whatever it is you do at the weekend, and, you know, just having what feels like the same sort of food that you've been having. Oh, sorry. And you're sort of like sitting there having the same sort of clean food that you've been having all week. And I think part of what's been really interesting about this challenge, like for me, food is a vice of mine. I'm not much of a drinker. I don't really party much or anything like that. But food is my vice. Like literally staying in with a really nice meal is just my idea of a good weekend. So, and you know, having your treats while you're watching Netflix and stuff like that. I'm a simple girl. Wow. Onions never get me just this badly, of course, because the camera's on. It's probably because the lights are on as well, so it's just got that double hit of strain on the eyes. But something that I found to be really positive about that is that for me, it's shown me where I use food as something other than fuel. So literally, there's been times when I might have had a slightly stressful phone conversation, and I sort of like get off the phone, I'm like, right, where's the biscuits? And you can really get to see where your sort of triggers come in with food. When I get home from work, the first thing I do is open the fridge, but I'm not hungry, you know? So it's just that sort of like automatic pattern. So for me, and I think for a lot of people, we don't always use food exactly what it's used for. So I think having a period like this, it just kind of helps you to gain a bit more control of like your eating habits that might be holding you back from your other goals. Oof. Nearly 4 weeks into it now, and I'm not actually missing the sugar. I went shopping on Friday evening to get my food shop. I walked right past my ice cream, and it did feel a bit strange not, picking up my ice cream. The ice cream was on special offer, and usually that would have been a good enough reason to just pick it up. But I was like, no, we can't have that this time. So it really just goes to show you what your behaviors are around food. It just helps to bring them back into a more sort of like beneficial routine. And it's not always food. It's not going to be food for everybody. But for me, that is the biggest strain that I found so far. Because as I said in the last video, Exercising twice a day, that's not punishment. Yes, please, make me exercise twice a day. Having to sit down and read a book is actually not punishment to me at all. So yeah, in that aspect, it's been really good. So having this experience sort of like really helped me to identify for myself what my sort of triggers are, has been really beneficial. Secondly, because my schedule has changed, I've been fortunate enough to find myself some work throughout this period. You know, I'm self-employed, and so a lot of my business has been put on hold for a lot of last year and obviously all of this year. So yeah, I've taken the plunge and I found myself a little temporary role, and I'm actually really enjoying the structure that it's given me. Doing the challenge alongside it, I was a little bit concerned about how I was going to continue to fit everything in, but actually all it's done is ensure that I really simplify everything as much as I can. So, you know, it's just taking away those sorts of like frivolities that we place around, you know, everyday things that we don't need to do. So it's little things like, for example, I'm about to make a beef stew and that's going to last me for 3 meals. I will have this for 3 days in a row. Whereas before I would have been like, oh no, I don't fancy having the same thing every day. And it's like, you know what, we don't have time for all that sort of stuff. And actually I've managed to slip into that routine without much bother at all. So as I say, just like, you know, being a little bit less of a princess and just being a little bit more pragmatic around things like food, we definitely would have had more of a sort of like personal and emotional connection to it before. By taking all that away and just applying pure logic to it, it's actually making things slot into a much more healthy pattern for me. So as I mentioned in the last vlog, I am a powerlifter and currently sitting in the under 72s category. But previously, because my body weight sort of naturally sits around the sort of 68 to 70 mark, my coach has never encouraged me to drop into the weight category below because it would be a 9 kilo drop. So previously, when we were preparing for competitions, we would be looking at a prep that was anywhere from 1 month to 3 months. 6 weeks to 3 months. So in both of those competitions that we were preparing for, it just wasn't viable and it wasn't going to benefit me to drop my weight category because it is quite a big jump. But now, because the competitions are not likely to be going on until the summer, we decided that it's probably a good time for me to think about dropping into the weight category below. So it's actually a really good time to start to harness my eating habits and really get a good grip on them to just make that process as least painful as possible. And I'll probably keep coming back to something like this, just, you know, periodically, just to kind of like get my mindset back in the right place. Because for me, as I've said last time, it really is more about mindset than anything else. I mean, the change in my body is going to be a byproduct. The change in mindset, the change in sort of like time management and just like self-mastery, that is the main thing. But now that I'm kind of getting a grip on those things, it's time to start looking at the more superficial stuff. So that's what we're going to do. So I've got my onions, my carrots and my celery. I'm literally just going to make a quick stop. So now I'm actually heading into phase 2 of the challenge. So you spend 30 days in each part of the challenge, in phase 1 and 2. And apparently there's a phase 3 as well. So I'm guessing that is obviously just 15 days at the end. I can't imagine what that entails. I haven't looked yet. But phase 2 is essentially everything that I've been doing so far. But it's going to be adding a daily shower in cold water. And it's also going to, I have to make 3 power moves per day. I've just double checked. I thought the shower was 2 minutes. It's actually 5 minutes. Okay. So I've got to make a list of critical power moves. So these are going to be things that are going to improve like my career, my business, you know, just general personal development things. Overall, I think I'm going to be focusing on reaching out to people that are going to be able to help in collaboration with my business, because that's something that is a real challenge for me. I'm quite independent. I like to do things for myself, and it's almost like you don't want to burden people, you know. Now that I've got all this time with the lockdown and things, doing that sort of groundwork for the business, I think it's going to be really useful, and I think it'll be a really good time to build some beneficial business relationships. So for me, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of those on this list, even though that is going to be a challenge for me. I reckon if I can do a 5-minute cold shower every day, I reckon I can do pretty much anything, to be honest. As well as taking on those 2 tasks, of course, I'm going to add my little own thing to it. So I actually think this is going to be a really good time for me to do a detox. I've done a couple of detoxes in the past, and I've always done them at sort of like quite pivotal points in my life. And so I just feel like it's probably about time to do another one. The last time I done one, it would have been about 6 years ago. And so yeah, I just think it's about time. I think, you know, just thinking about the best way to use this time that we have at the moment is doing stuff like that, for me anyway. I always feel amazing once I've done the detoxes, but it's not always like easy when you've got like events coming up, you've got social gatherings to go to. As much as I like running my own business, it can be very unstructured. And so it can be quite tricky to fit something like a detox in, not only because it can be hard to find the time, because it does take quite a little bit of time to prepare for something like this. It's a lot of time investment, but also it is quite a lot on your body. So you potentially don't want to be doing it when like you're quite busy, like rushing around doing other things. So for me, while my structure is now, even though I have a structure, it is a very sort of like manageable day. It's the same, I'm doing the same things at the same time every day, and it's nothing that's too taxing. It's definitely not how it was when I was sort of like dashing around seeing clients and things like that. So actually I think this is a really good time for me to do a detox. I'm going to go more into that on the next blog when I talk a little bit more about the nutrition part of all this. The next week, because I like to ease myself into things, I'm going to ease myself in by just adding a few sort of like detoxing foods and just taking out some of the sort of like more like irritating foods and things that sort of like feed the bad bacteria. So this week there's going to be absolutely no breads, there's going to be absolutely no dairy, which I've more or less cut out anyway. But I do like the odd bit of cheese. I do like a sandwich. I do. I go for sourdough bread, but you know, it's still bread. It's still gluten. So I'm just going to be taking those out and just introducing a few sort of like more detoxing foods. I've actually found detoxes to be really beneficial and really useful for me to overcome a lot of health conditions, sort of like gut-related things. But they do need to be practiced with caution. So the 2 things I would say is that you want to give yourself the time to be able to sit and focus on it, because it is a big time investment. But also you want to use a bit of common sense in the terms of like just not going in too hard too quickly, because you're going to get really strong detoxing effects which aren't pleasant. If you go in a little bit more gently and sort of like go in more gradually, then not only do you make the experience not so unpleasant for yourself, but you also just support the body in sort of like doing what it needs to do gently. So there you go, that's my update on the 75 hard challenge. I will definitely keep you posted within a week or 2 about how the next phase is going, and also be letting you know what sort of critical power moves that I'm making, because that is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, but I'll let you know how the detox is going as well. Really looking forward to that, and I'm really looking forward to the results as well. As I said before, this wasn't ever a weight loss challenge for me, but now that I've actually got a reason to drop a little bit of weight, then I'm actually quite looking forward to that part of the challenge as well. So I'm going to be doing at least another 2 videos about the individual parts of this challenge. So I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know if you enjoyed that sort of cook along thing as well. I didn't just want to stand here and talk just about the challenge, and I also didn't want to just kind of like stand here and cook either. But I would like to show a lot more sort of like recipes. I do love cooking and I do love talking. So if I can combine the 2, then yeah, that's my idea of a good Sunday afternoon. So if you did like that, let me know, give me a thumbs up. And if you've got any more ideas, or if you feel free to subscribe, join in, get involved, let me know your experience if you've done anything like this before. I'm actually going to spend the rest of the evening writing a big old list of critical power moves that I need to make over the next month. So with that, I'm going to end the video, and thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you next time.